Yep. That was perfect. I can't believe you jerked off an android right on
Right.
right on Mike.
Well, someone's got to do it, you know?
Yeah, and Tasha Yar died, so
Thank God.
she can't anymore.
Man, the first season is so effing weird of Next Generation. It's so unlike any other season of Next Gen, and it's you could just kind of skip the first season.
Yeah. I don't hate the opening episode as much as everybody else does.
I like the opening episode, Encounter at 4 Point.
Yeah.
How can you any Q episode? I'm in.
I know you're a big Q guy. I actually came around to Q more recently. I think we've discussed.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, he was the part of the episode I didn't like. I didn't mind the reason why people kind of give it crap is just the kind of stupid look of it all, where Star Trek goes to show somebody as being a little bit behind the times, and they look like 19th century people who exist while dealing with intergalactic trade or whatever. Not intergalactic, sorry, interstellar trade and
Sure. Yeah.
and it's just like, yeah, they don't have modern materials, like from a 20th century viewpoint, modern materials. They're like,
Yeah.
they've all wearing burlap sacks,
Yeah.
but harnessing this giant alien for its power.
Yeah. Yeah, Star Trek, Next Generation specifically, has got some very odd, almost anachronistic blend
Yeah.
of set design and just someone's like some alien culture. Everyone's in robes, even though they have a holographic machine in the center of their town. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Man, that was a good episode.
That's a great episode.
That's not even Next Gen.
No, it's DS9, but it's that era. It's the Berkman era of Star Trek still.
Yeah.
It's the other good one.
It's it is indeed the other good one. But in spite of those terrible costumes and that not making sense, I actually liked them trying to figure that out, and was like upset when Q kept interrupting in places that just didn't seem right for what he was supposedly trying to accomplish. Like, he was bothersome at the exact times that he should have been observing. And observing at the times where maybe he could have interceded.
I can see that. Speaking of bad costumes, the uniforms in the motion picture are god awful. I think this is one of the reasons why the movie in general feels so bland, and it's one of the reasons why it feels so much more boring than it actually is. It's because everything is
There's less colors.
it's so dull. It's so dull.
Since we're on uniforms, I just got to ask, did you ever figure out what the giant thing on their belt area that's not a belt is?
No,
There you go.
but I bashed my head against it a few times. You know?
I was waiting for that
Like,
to
what
be
the
explained.
fuck? What the fuck is that?
I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I haven't seen this movie in a while. They obviously do not have communicator badges yet. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe this belt thing, maybe I've forgotten. Maybe this
Maybe
is how
that's-
they upgraded from the flip phone with a radio dial of the original series
Sure.
and are starting to head towards next gen. Maybe it's on
Yeah.
their stomach. And then, he pulled up his Apple Watch and started talking to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, first of all, baller move. That was a great idea for an in-between.
Sure.
Not knowing it was an in-between yet, but,
Yeah.
that was a great next idea of communicator. But then I was like, well, that's disappointing. I wanted to find out something about that belt. I'm left to believe it's a Batman belt that they never actually had to get around to using, and that there's some form of shark repellent in there and anything else you might need.
There's a grappling hook. There's
Yes.
smoke bombs.
There's
Batarangs.
a universal kind of cure for whatever poison / disease / gas / whatever. It'll be in like a little pill-shaped container that you can drink.
Sure.
I'm going, the shark repellent is of course from the Adam West movie.
Of course.
And
Adam West movie.
you
Just what a random.
you have to see Batman the movie. They need the shark repellent when they are actually on a rope ladder dangling from a helicopter when a shark attacks them from out of the water. Luckily, they have a giant spray can in their belt that is
Obviously
shark repellent. It's either in the belt or maybe Robin drops it from the Batcopter.
Probably.
They show up at airports. Other people are there. They go, here's your Batcopter. It's so awesome.
You're cleared with the tower whenever you're ready.
Everybody would have to know who Batman was.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Adam West Batman does a better job of explaining what his uniform is than Star Trek the motion picture.
Yeah, I guess.
It's an awkward place to put something. But yes, I'm going to agree. The blandness of I don't actually hate all of them. Some of them I'd wear.
The sleeveless uniforms.
It's like a 1/4 sleeve.
Yeah.
It's not quite. It's shorter than a short sleeve, but it's not quite sleeveless.
Yeah, it's real high.
Yeah. Oh man. If
what's with Captain Kirk changing uniforms every fucking 4 scenes?
Well, that's in Shatner's contract. That has nothing to do with Captain Kirk. That's
just Shatner's contract.
He gets a little self-conscious, so he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a little bit of chest hair today," and then the next day he's like, "I'm not feeling great about my chest region right now."
Yeah.
Bones, on the other hand, a lot of chest.
A lot of nothing but chest.
That was
That's
the
so
lowest cut.
Damn near. He's got damn near like the fucking disco collar. You know.
Oh my god, that is fantastic. But he lost the disco eyeshadow from the original series, which was disappointing.
Damn. It is sad.
I really wanted that blue. I know they couldn't see it on their television in the 60s, but you can see it on every
now you can
today.
Yeah. The Bones coming onto the ship with a full beard. And he looked really good with a full beard.
I wish he would have kept it.
Yeah, me too.
What is that? What it's
it was great.
Starfleet regulations, so he had to shave it.
I'm assuming so. But
those sons of bitches.
Which they would have had to been a change in rules, 100 years later, so that
Will Riker
could have a beard.
Yeah. And of course, so that Cisco could have a goatee.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
That was money.
It's one of the ways that I decide if if like I'm like watching the beginning part of a DS9 episode, not sure which one it is, and if Cisco is bald and with a goatee, then I know it's probably going to be a good episode.
Yeah. I noticed the last watch through that those two things that are always affiliated with each other don't actually happen at the same time.
No, does he grow the goatee first and then shave his head?
I feel like yes, and not only do I feel like that's true for a few episodes, there's also a random episode earlier where he grows it. I want to say maybe this is later in the series, but I want to say it's the time that they make the ancient Bajoran ship that sails on.
Yeah. On off of like light rays or whatever.
Yeah. I want to say he suddenly has a
winds.
goatee like a half a season before the goatee really shows up and stays.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's a good episode to test the goatee
it's
out on.
a roughing it one.
Yeah,
he's out there away
he's-
from the
He's
station.
on short leave, you know.
Yeah.
He's on vacation.
Everybody grows a little beard on vacation.
Yeah, you know.
I actually shave on vacation just to switch it up. I keep it really tight. I shave
Yeah.
twice a day
Yeah.
and avoid a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
I go out to dinner
real
cleanly shaved.
Yeah.
Yes. Baby face.
Yeah.
I put in a lot of work. It's the opposite of everything else. I relax on vacation, but put a lot of work into my face. Then I come back from vacation, I go back to work, and I stop working on me.
Obviously. That's a really good way of just summarizing your whole life right there.
Yeah. You can
I started going to work and stopped working on me.
you can tell by how disheveled I am that I have not been on vacation in a while.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be very
A
clean
while.
cut.
It's been fucking 4 days. Did you go back to work last week or this week?
I don't think surgery recovery is a vacation. But
I didn't say from vacation. I just said back to work.
I think this is actually my 3rd week back.
Really?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I'm all healed up,
Ew.
like a brand new person.
Yeah, brand new you.
You want me to pull down my pants and show you?
I would love it.
So yes, there's not enough colors in the uniforms for starters. I don't hate all of them, but they're all like a white and light blue and a something. I don't know why they have to be so different on the neckline. Like there's the DeForest Kelly Bones giant V.
Mm-hmm.
There's the short V for a lot of Shatner, and then like Chekhov and Sulu. That's all right up on the neck.
Yeah.
But there's nothing indicating rank or anything or not rank. What would you call that? What were the colors?
Department.
Department. That's the word. Yeah. Nothing indicating
No.
department or
No.
anything like that.
Yeah.
But you said they look terrible. I don't like them as a Star Trek fan. I like them as a shirt. They look more comfortable and softer than any of the materials that I'm used to seeing in the television shows. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, is there a little silk in there? It looks way less polyester.
It looks breathable.
Yeah, yeah. Next gen looks very
it's wool.
uncomfortable
They're
all the
wool.
time.
You know?
Yeah.
They're polyester at first, like skin tight, awful uniforms that everybody hated, and then they went to wool, which everybody still hated.
Is that really true of
Yeah.
the next gen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew. So the first two, it's a jumpsuit one piece,
Yeah,
and I guess a lot of people are saying that they were just like an inch too short all the way around,
Yeah.
and just destroying their backs as they're being compressed for
pretty-
weeks on end.
pretty hardcore fucking
Yeah.
suits,
Well,
and everybody's ramrods, straight constantly in that show.
yeah, especially Riker.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big chest out, good posture type of guy.
Yeah, chest out, ass out. You know.
Yeah, well,
He's
yeah.
got that curve. You know what I mean?
Ironically, he says that a lot of the different Riker moves, the leaning over people and kind of squatting and putting his leg up on on a console so that his crotch is right in somebody's face. It was actually the opposite of great posture. It was that he had back problems and he was trying to lean over and be on his elbow and his knee. And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I do that all the time. I'm just not on camera.
Yeah, I do that to coworkers all the time. Luckily, no one's ever complained. But
Yeah, well, they complain.
they
I'm
complain
like,
to
leave
me.
me
which
alone.
is-
It's my back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got all sorts of excuses. We
So-
really started with the uniforms on
Yeah,
this movie.
that was a bad way. I mean, we could start over.
Oh no, we can't do that. I gotta say, I haven't watched enough movies recently. Maybe that's it. Was this an unbelievably long just opening credit scene?
Yeah, it damn near it has a full blown overture.
Have
section.
things happening in the background at least. This is just their background space
Yeah,
with names.
Yeah.
And it went on and on.
yeah.
But I gotta say, as soon as it ended, they start up right away.
You are pretty locked in right after that whole overture section, probably because you're like just starving for something to happen.
Do anything at all.
Yeah, and we open with fucking 3 Klingon battle cruisers flying to this unknown thing, and you get the fucking the new Klingon theme at that point, right?
The score throughout the whole movie is utterly This is making all the feelings you're ever gonna have in this is not from the lines. It's
not from any of the lines. it's not from any emotional moment.
Yeah.
The emotional moments are brought to you through the score and a miniature.
Yes, the music is fantastic. The score is fantastic. I am scared when I hear that one strum of what we eventually find out is V'ger.
Yeah.
Every time it turns back, it's the same sound. It's very 70s in one sense, where I almost find it, I don't know, it was a little too much. I turned it down, the volume down at home a couple of times, but it gave you the feeling that you were afraid. You knew that this was the bad guy, and it was consistent.
Yeah.
They also mixed the score in with the original theme throughout the whole movie in ways that I thought were very good, very useful, always bringing you back. The theme itself, when it was the pure theme, it was only 3 or 4 times, and you got a great feeling every time it happened.
Yeah. I would go as far as to say that the score and the soundtrack in general of the motion picture is right up there with Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. It's so perfectly mixed. Everything is perfect of it. In Lord of the Rings, the first movie, that the Fellowship of the Ring, right? The theme that you associate with Lord of the Rings comes at just the perfect moments of epic fantasy, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then in Star Trek, the theme that we eventually associate with Next Generation, it comes at the perfect Star Trek moments,
Yeah. Big booming moments. And 3 Klingon ships that look gorgeous.
Oh my God. We were talking earlier off mic about how indulgent the intro to the Enterprise is of it's 5 minutes of flying around the ship, but it's almost just as indulgent to look at the Klingon ships. There's like 2 or 3 pans up and down the spine of the ship, on the side of the ship, and you see all 3 of them together into this gorgeous nebula, so I did kind of like flip through the version that's on Paramount Plus, and it looks so much better than my DVD version. To the point where it's like, dude, these special effects hold up.
Oh, they're
gorgeous.
Fantastic. They're very good. Yeah, I was blown away the whole time, and I've seen it a few times, and streaming. It was in the current quality. Yeah. I've seen it since then, which was only, I think, 3 years ago is when they last updated it. And, I was still surprised by it. I could not believe how good it looked. I was also surprised by the fact that the Klingons looked like that.
Yeah, with the rigid heads.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised until... I was surprised at first, and then I was surprised when the movie ended, for 2 reasons. In my mind, I haven't seen the original cast movies in a little while. I'm getting a few of them confused. There is a major Klingon presence in, I believe, the 3rd one, the Voyage Home. The captain's played by somebody.
Hell yeah.
The captain's played by Christopher Lloyd.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it's very fantastic. I'm really pumped for when you get through some of these original cast movies.
Yeah.
And I just assumed that with that being the first movie with a major Klingon presence, that is the movie when they would go from the original series Klingons to the ridges looking like 90s Klingons.
Yeah.
Worf and everything.
Sure.
So to make this kind of a change and decide what the Klingons are going to look like for the first 5 minutes of this movie and never again.
Yeah.
They never come up again.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not even really mentioned that the Klingon Empire exists.
Yeah.
And yet they decided this is the moment that we have a movie budget. We're going to put some real makeup, and it's not just going to be a goateed guy. It's not just dude with goatee.
With big eyebrows too.
I forgot.
You can't forget the eyebrows.
I can't believe
Yeah.
I'm ridiculous.
How dare you? You know, that's a really good point, and it's the change is not acknowledged. It's not talked about at all. It's not like, you know, at the time, it's not like us looking back where we're like, I wonder how they went from these, you know, goatee and eyebrows to what Worf looks like in the first season, you know? And like, why would they make that change? You know, it's not like they had a place to go. You know what I mean? It's not like they had this idea that the Klingons actually look like this. It's like just something that evolved. So that this first outing of the rigid foreheads is pretty obnoxious. They're huge.
You just pointed out something that I guess I didn't think about, even though it's obvious that, you know, at the time they're not putting it in the context of these movies being between the original series and Next Gen.
Yeah.
Are they even Klingons? Like, it's almost like they don't... I don't know if they ever say it. The ships are clearly Klingon, and those are ships from the original series. I'm pretty sure they show up and have, like, a super weapon that takes out something that comes out of the front. So it's all very obvious, but it's almost like if this movie, presumably, it's being produced because there's becoming a cult following of a show that's still in syndication. Wouldn't you tell people these are Klingons? Wouldn't there be some sort of... I guess the language is already Klingon. Did they already have a Klingon language in TOS? It's been longer since I've seen that.
I think they do speak Klingon in TOS, or at least it's happening.
Yeah, it's in the background.
Yeah. These are the D9s. So this is the ship that they were flying in TOS. The Klingons were flying this ship. So I guess if you...
They expect you to put those two and two together.
They do expect that, I suppose. Although in a few scenes, when Kirk is giving the briefing to the crew of the Enterprise of what they have to do, he does mention that Klingon ships encountered this thing, and that our outpost heard or saw. It's very unclear.
Yeah. And then they show the video.
Yeah.
And then it starts attacking that outpost. Mm-hmm. Live in the video, it seems.
Live!
They're showing the old video at the same time that they're being...
Kirk gets paged of like, hey, there was a priority message coming from that outpost. And he's like, put it right here.
Yeah.
In front of the entire crew? In front of the entire crew that has been assembled for this briefing of like, you know, we really, you know, this is supposed to be a hurrah moment. I know it's last minute, but you know, this is an emergency. We're getting deployed now. It's so important that an admiral is standing on the deck to go out. Not only is there an admiral on the ship, but I'm taking full command of the ship as well. You know what I mean? So like the stakes are high. You know what I mean?
Any chance you caught what he called that room? We should take notes.
It's very funny that we went to the lengths of like borderline over preparing for Section 31 for a movie that we really hated.
Yeah.
And then for a movie that is not bad. It's like, I know that the first one is considered one of the bad Star Treks. I really liked it.
It's not. They do get better though.
Yeah, which is great. Good. I'm so excited. I know the next one's the best, but you know, I'm not disappointed in it. Other than it just feels so fucking slow.
Yeah, 2 hours and 15-minute movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, where there's like 7 pages of dialogue. I don't remember what they called that room.
I believe it had something to do with recreation or something like that. It seems like
Yeah.
the big workout room, or you can do calisthenics.
Yeah, I
They-
guess it was because I was thinking
They
I
need
was
a PA
going to say
system.
it's not the recreation room because they V'ger probe and the other commander, the one that was originally commanding the Enterprise,
Decker.
Decker, went to the recreation room.
I mean, Captain Decker, he's really only put down to commander for this one mission. He's
Yeah.
supposed to get his rank back.
Honestly, he really shouldn't have even gotten a full demotion. We're like,
It really makes no sense to do that. And everybody's going to call the admiral the captain. And it's just, you
Yeah.
can just still call them admiral and captain and know that admiral is higher and therefore is the commander of the ship. Admirals do command ships sometimes. They've shown,
yeah,
they will eventually show that in
That's
other.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's a little different. It hadn't happened yet. But
I would be very interested because
these are all naval terms. That
Yeah.
happen- Admirals in the Navy sometimes do have their own ship. And I don't know if there's a captain on board, but
there might be.
Yeah,
probably
regardless,
is.
the admiral is deciding what's going on, and yeah, there probably is a captain somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. If not, multiple captains.
Yeah,
There could be a captain, the captain, right? And then this is the captain of this platoon of dudes or whatever. I guess that's mixing. That's mixing too much.
yeah.
Because
See,
in army there could be multiple captains in
yeah.
a platoon.
I think
or
captain's
squadron or
lower in the army than it is in the Navy, just because captain of the ship is
whatever. Top dog. Yeah.
top dog of any ship until you run multiple ships, and by that time you're an admiral.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It really doesn't make any sense that he gets a full demotion at all. And then he has to, and then he's referred. Everybody's referred by these fake ranks that you're just putting extra strain on a crew that borderline is not ready to go. You know what I mean? Like the ship barely is not working right. All of these new faces are getting put onto into senior positions that they don't really know all that well. I mean, I'm sure they've heard of Kirk
yeah.
and Spock, but
Nobody else from the original cast ever even changed what exact place they sit on in the ship.
it's been 10 years.
Like what? Chekhov, move, do something. I mean,
They're all still the same ranks too.
Uhura's still doing communications. Like she's still kind of a little secretary-ish.
Yeah,
Still got a little
still
bit of
answering
that.
the phones, huh?
Yep.
Weird.
I got somebody on for you on line 2, Captain.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't call people for more than 6 months before I had to quit a job, let alone 10 years of answering phones.
I think Yeoman Rand might have actually passed in rank at some point in there. She's running like transporters and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
her career has flourished.
yeah,
in the
she's
last
doing
10 years.
fantastic.
Yeah.
She was a yeoman. I don't even know what doesn't even exist later.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about secretary? She just brought food. She didn't anything in TOS.
She was a waitress.
I didn't even know they had those in the Navy.
Now she's running the fucking. Now she's running the teleporters. Poorly.
Now she's O'Brien. She might as well have her own show spinoff, like
She should have a
DS9.
spinoff, Yeah. Nurse Chapel is a goddamn doctor.
Yeah.
You know.
Really reattacked that too much. He was very upset that he wasn't going to have a nurse, or he needed a nurse.
Yeah, and he didn't want Chapel to be that position, and to be that go-between nurse person.
Yeah.
Because he was like, yeah, but now she's a doctor, so she's big. She's big.
She's going to question me.
She's gonna question me. So, like, what were you guys gonna? What was the plan here? Was she gonna work on that side? That you were gonna split the?
Luckily,
split the
it never
medical
came
st-
up.
Thank God.
It was just an example of how Bones does like to complain.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, the Klingons shoot these things into the
Yeah.
into a giant cloud.
Yep.
And then back home on Earth, well, at this station, they find out about it. They start gathering the Enterprise crew to go out because it's the only ship between Earth and this entity. Earth. Starfleet ship. There's none near Earth.
And this takes place after the original series and between the original series and Next Generation. So the war with the Klingons like just ended. So there's not one ship between Earth and the Klingon border.
Okay, so when you say it's been a long time since the original series, is the Klingon War going on during that, or is that already over even for that? Because they kind of do act like frenemies a little bit.
I think it's all tentative. I think it's all like
a little Cold War-ish.
Yeah, very Cold War-ish. At least in TOS, it's very, very Cold War, right?
Yeah.
Because it was.
It's 60s television. Yeah.
Yeah. And 60s sci-fi in general. It's all everything's got to be about the Cold War, and everything's got to be about atomic weapons, and for some reason submarines. But
they were going to be very relevant in the very distant future.
Yeah,
they knew it. Yeah,
yeah.
They do make for great television, though. The submarine movie genre thing. Yeah.
Tense,
my God, they're just
great.
dropping depth charges into this. Well, we can't be in submarines. How about a nebula?
Or,
works every time.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of the Klingons being able to cloak is the idea of a ship, if like the Enterprise is a capital ship sitting, a battle cruiser or something sitting on top of the water, and the Klingons are a submarine that can dive, and like come up and then fire and then come back. In real life, you can just stay down there and fire, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
You need to have some tension and release, but I believe that the war is, like I said, kind of Cold War-ish. I don't know if the Khitomer Accords have happened yet, for sure.
No, I'm pretty sure that happens in a movie.
Okay, so then the Cold War thing is on. Then
yeah,
then it's like it's not necessarily flaring or anything, but it's so there. To back to your point, there isn't a ship between Earth and the Klingon border.
Yeah, you are pointing out way more, because my question was literally going to be, do I remember TOS so wrong just because of newer Trek kind of retconning things in? And like, is Starfleet like 3 ships? And like Kirk's was one going out and exploring deep space, and there were like 2 other in closer space. And I'm like, maybe 10 years after that, you could make this argument. But if, to your point, there's already interstellar war. There's already a federation with many allies.
Yeah.
And they're just like one ship that's not actually, that's going through a refit.
Yeah. It's not even out on patrol that has to be recalled or something. It's not even like, oh, well, its job is to patrol around Earth or something. No, it's here because it's getting work done.
Yeah.
It does not work at the moment. It does not fly.
And, I get your ship needs to be the one that can whatever for any movie or TV show, but like out in any random sector, the Enterprise can be the only ship around to do whatever.
Yeah.
On Earth, it just can't. You have to come up with something better.
It's one of the reasons why DS9 is great, is because the Federation is far away. We're on the frontier of what's even considered the Federation.
On the edge, and maybe not even. Like,
right.
It's maybe an enclave.
Yeah, the Bajorans aren't a Federation planet. You know what I mean? That's the closest planet. We're on the edge of the edge. When they need help, they are alone because the Starfleet is days away. But they're still just days away.
Yeah.
To the far edge of Federation space.
There's 0 on Earth.
And there's nobody out here? How many ships you're right. That's a good point. How many ships does the Federation have at this moment?
If it's more than 4, none of this plot makes any sense. And if they're at war, 4 seems a bit short-sighted. You're going to lose.
Yeah. I think this is starting to touch on probably my biggest takeaway about the motion picture is that it feels like an episode, and not a movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It feels like there's because it's very much a Star Trek plot, you know, of like unknown nebula that's coming to Earth. It happens to be, there's no like bloodshed in this movie. There's no like big battle scene. You know, it's very Star Trek in that it's all about understanding.
Everybody
And-
that dies pretty much disappears.
Yeah, and they died because they, oh yeah, not because they wanted to. I was about to say, Decker's really the only one that like,
Yeah. I mean,
he's
even
the
the
only one that we care about that dies. You know?
even the Klingons for the opening, like they disappear. There's no real violence. There's not even an explosion to it. Ilea disappears,
Yeah.
and then Decker,
Evolves.
yeah, he becomes Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen.
I was going to go with he becomes a traveler.
I'm gonna go with Watchmen being a better reference, just because that says, whew.
Oh, that's on topic. That reference is on topic.
It's much more on topic, but the first Traveler episode, I actually like the seventh season Traveler episode, which is the send off for Will Wheaton,
Yeah.
of actually watching somebody become a Traveler. That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. Star Trek kind of has a space Jesus problem. I'll call it a problem.
Yeah.
You know?
I also the other great thing about that was the we were talking about 19th century people in robes in Next Gen. 19th century Native Americans in the one where the Will Wheaton send off, where it's just
Oh yeah.
they're somewhat modern, that, you know, obviously they aren't idiots and they know about technology and stuff, but they also look like they're kind of living in like a Southwest village in the 19th century. Like that's all what do you call that material?
Like
What the houses are made out of.
I was gonna say thatch,
Yeah, it looks more like stucco, but it's like a
plaster, mud.
better than mud huts. That's it's a very southwestern look, but it's just
Yeah.
kind of like, these are descendants of Native Americans hundreds of years in the future, right? Not like history book Native. It's like, what are we doing here?
What wasn't I don't want to be like wasn't that kind of the point that they left Earth to go live the way their ancestors did?
Yeah. Yes.
So in that case, their anachronistic lifestyle would have made sense because they're like specifically on that planet to live that way.
Maybe I'd have to watch the episode again, but I,
think
don't
you're just
think it
being
was
racist.
that good.
You know what, you like I was talking about
I don't
earlier
think it
with the
was that
grenade,
deep.
with the grenade rolling into the room of racism, and you're like, you jump on it this time. Now it went off in your hand.
I didn't just accuse or anything. I just set you up. This is this is
I am accusing. You're right.
well. I'm accusing the writers.
Good. They
Maybe I
probably
got to
are.
watch the episode again.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about this, but
They were-
I think they were pretty much caricatures of of people that don't really exist.
Oh yeah, for sure. But, it takes damn near an hour and a half of this fucking movie before we even on our way to go see V'ger. To even get to the point where we're like getting there. And there's a point where we're like almost about to get there, right? We're going to like jump into hyperspace and we're, oh, Jesus Christ. We're going to jump to warp and the ship blows up. The ship blows up and has to get like, you know, they have to fucking redo everything. It takes forever to get this movie going.
Are you trying to jump this podcast up to about an hour and a half into a 2-hour movie?
Yeah, because nothing fucking happens. Nothing happens.
Well, one thing that I know we talked about a little bit before the recording, but I got to bring back up is that, maybe we watched what happens to the Klingons and the outposts and everything ahead of time, and then Lieutenant Ilea is added to the cast.
Fine.
She's quickly mentioned as
go slower.
a Deltan. No explanation as to what that means.
Yeah.
After you looked it up, it turns out that was never filled in until the last 5 years of Star Trek, where all of a sudden they're everywhere.
Not even, well, yeah, I guess it would be the last 5 years, but even in the representation of a Deltan, what was that guy's name?
Data No.
No, the other one.
I'm out of...
Teven?
I feel like that's Taveen.
Taveen. Sure. Taveen served on the USS Titan under the command of Liam Shaw. So I believe this was Picard season 1. I believe that's the season that Shaw is in. But I don't remember this guy ever being brought up as being a Deltan.
Yeah, it also says they're a Vulcan/Deltan.
Oh yeah, they're a hybrid.
Yeah, that don't count.
Yeah, that is...
So it's basically meaningless when it comes up in this movie, and yet it seems as if we're supposed to find meaning in it, but if there is meaning in it, it will never come up for the rest of the movie.
Correct.
And based on more recent, and maybe the more recent ones are because we were supposed to get this idea back in the original movie, or in the motion picture, which is that, yes, she is a temptress of some, or she can immediately have extreme allure over anyone else around her, as evidenced by the fact that Decker, who already knows her, is immediately taken with her, but seems to have that from a previous relation. And for no reason whatsoever, Chekhov has a kind of horny 14-year-old's look on his face when he turns around, which also never comes to anything. At which point she announces a vow of celibacy completely out of nowhere before taking her place, which will also never come up again. One would think that would be relevant. Not that I would think that that would be relevant, but one would think nobody would put that line in unless it came up later.
Yeah, and I mean, the motion picture was famous for being rewritten over and over and over and over again. Like, something like, out of the original 120-page script, 20 pages made it to the final form, and they were rewriting scenes as they were being shot.
Nice.
So maybe some explanation
it would have come up again.
Yeah, maybe some explanation has been lost to time, or exists someplace on the internet that I have not dug through. But I think that you're giving the writers of Section 31 too much credit, just because, you know, everybody seems a little horny when the Deltan is mentioned, Ilea is mentioned, and everybody kind of has this, oh, you know, everybody looks when she comes onto the bridge and stuff, and she mentions the celibacy and stuff. That could just mean that, like, you know, maybe they're, I think you're giving them too much credit in saying that maybe there's some temptress thing that we should be keeping in mind, because Section 31 goes as far as to say that these people can manipulate you into loving them, opposed to maybe they're just famously good at sex, like a Ryzen or something.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, she mentions the celibacy thing to tell everybody, I'm not here to distract, you know. And what I mean by that is, because if we're supposed to believe Section 31's depiction of the Deltans, then she would be way too distracting to be on the bridge. She would probably be too distracting to be in Starfleet, because it's almost like something that just happens. It's not necessarily something that they can just turn on and off. Maybe they can like focus it, but it like
I think I took it as the Section 31 people took it and ran with it, but that there was already supposed to be some idea of the alluring nature, kind of like the the episode of Next Generation where they're delivering the perfect mate, I believe was the episode title. And they're delivering somebody that is going to, I don't know, bring peace between two groups of people by being the perfect mate for one of them. They're bred this way.
Oh, yeah. She was like being married off.
Yes.
Yeah. Like an arranged thing. She didn't want to.
Almost. No, she wanted to.
Yeah, she wanted to. Yeah, because she was bred.
Specifically to do it.
Yeah.
But she imprinted on whoever she saw first, which happened to be Picard.
Shocking.
I didn't print on Picard if that's who I saw too.
You don't have to tell me twice, you know. Yeah, I think that there I feel like they just didn't there's not enough to go off of in the original movie to I guess critique the writers here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we're not
other
given
than
enough.
that they threw things in for no reason.
Yeah.
That's my critique,
Yeah,
less than anything being wrong. Just why throw in these couple of little lines that
ultimately don't mean anything.
If Uhura is going to say, Captain, she's a Deltan, then the fact that she's a Deltan should mean something at some point in the movie. And
it's a Chekhov's gun situation here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't you can't say something like that with no payoff. You know.
Yeah, one would think. Mentions she sees a Deltan, everybody look, she's got to look, and then she says this line. That combination of four things, like at some point, should come up.
What was the line again that she says?
Something about having my vow of celibacy is stated and known, or something like that. Like it's an awkwardly worded.
It's a pretty good line, you know. I think I might have to start conversations that way.
Yeah,
you know, with new people at the bar or something.
It's awkward when it's awkward when they don't believe you, and it's awkward when they do believe you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was planning on calling Scott tomorrow, and I think that's how he's gonna say, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I'm gonna be like, "Just want to let you know that my vow of celibacy has been stated and is in fact known."
Yeah. And now you know.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man.
I'll take my station.
I will.
Just What station?
What?
So now Ilea's on. We find out that Captain Decker had previously known her.
Yeah, we get that vibe very quickly, and this is probably the only ounce of character that we get in this entire movie is that there's some sort of relationship between Decker and Ilia that we don't necessarily know the extent of, but it's enough that he's going to focus all of his energy later in the film to pulling that emotional state out of the V'ger probe.
And then I believe in fairly short order after this, we do have our final taking off. I think we mentioned, but kind of did kind of blow past the 10-minute looking at the ship when he's actually pulling up to it and explaining to Scotty that he will be taking over the ship and will be captain again and all this other stuff. Which is I'm only reverting back to in order to say that after Ilia joins the ship, we are finally going to get underway. Decker thinks they should wait. Kirk believes we have to get going as soon as possible to meet this entity as far away as possible, this intruder, as it is being called at the time. And Scotty agrees that with Decker that there needs to be more simulations done before they pull out. And Kirk's having none of that.
Yeah, that's the only other piece, right? So like the Decker Aaliyah thing is the only kind of like character thing that we're somewhat interested in, and then the fact that Kirk he wrestled command from Decker.
Yeah,
he's making bad choices, you know.
As Decker even pointed out when he's being told this, that apparently when Decker got the position, it was recommended by Kirk. Kirk told him he was jealous of his position, and Decker is well aware that Kirk has been trying to go from admiral back down to captain to actually run a ship again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wrestles it away. They take off. A wormhole is immediately created. Some of the first fun special effects with characters actually in it, as
Sure.
opposed to just ships and exterior shots.
Yeah.
A lot of blur, a lot of more sound design of dragging out everything everyone was saying. You mentioned
that was good.
the terrible decision making. I think this is the first big terrible decision where
This is the big first blunder.
yes, Kirk would like to fire phasers. Hold that command.
Yeah.
And Decker stops them from firing phasers. Immediately changes that order to photon torpedoes, which they fire at a time where all my other Star Trek watching tells me they are way too close to the meteor that they have to blow up with this photon torpedo to not blow themselves up in the process.
Sure. Guess they're really hoping that the deflector dish is operating correctly.
Oh, it's operating fantastically because this seems to cause no issues whatsoever.
None.
As they suddenly drop out of the wormhole. Then the timing seemed weird because it almost seemed like destroying the meteor is what got them out of the wormhole. But they were kind of describing it as something that was slowly happening anyway as they decelerated. And it just so happened that the second they hit that with the photon torpedo is the second they dropped out. We find out from Scotty that the wormhole was actually created by the warp engines because they went too soon and didn't do enough simulations.
Which is a pretty cool idea.
Oh, I love that. That was a great add in there.
Which I don't think Star Trek ever plays with ever again. Of artificially creating a wormhole because the engines aren't aligned just right, you know?
Yeah, it does. It almost seems like something that if it was too possible to do, you could angle that to make it useful. Who cares about DS9? You can make your own wormhole whenever the fuck you want. Just misalign your warp nacelles.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's a...
Does that wormhole go anywhere though?
Yeah, there has to be an element of like, well, like we if you did this, if you made this wormhole, there would have to be an element of like, don't do it because you don't know where it's going. You don't know like you could find yourself on the other. They should have found themselves someplace.
It seems that it did nothing.
Yeah,
like a wormhole formed around them while they traveled through normal space.
Yeah, and all of a sudden there's meteors, and if these meteors, they have to be smaller. They would have been the same size meteors if you were traveling through warp or not, right? So if you went to warp, then the meteors would have been dealt with by the deflectors of like getting pushed out of the way or disintegrated or something along those lines. So them being in a wormhole and then destroying that meteor doesn't seem to like matter.
No.
And I think I had that feeling the first time I watched this movie of like this whole action scene is pointless, because it's just to show that like Kirk is making bad decisions and to have some cool special effects on the screen on the bridge and to have that warping audio thing and the visual ghosting going
Yeah.
on. Very
Decker
cool.
saves the day.
And Decker saves the day. I feel like there could have been a more character focused solution to get to this point. There could have been a blow up between Kirk and Decker about we got to go now. We got to and this could have been that type of interaction could have heightened then the conversation later in Kirk's ready room or his quarters or whatever they had.
Yeah.
Conference room inside of his quarters or whatever.
Yeah.
I do have to say the conference room, the door, the sliding glass door.
Which you don't see because Decker leaves. So yeah, after this, they all meet back at, I think he does say his quarters.
Yeah, I think it's his quarters. They go back to, let's go back to my bedroom.
Yeah.
And talk about this.
And when Decker leaves, you only see the door to the hallway open and close. And when Bones leaves a minute or two later, he goes through that door, and just the shot they decide to be in the little entryway of his quarters, where you're inside the door from the outside hallway, but a shaded glass door.
Yeah.
That you did not see there before just closes on Kirk, and the shot is just staying still while it closes in front of you.
There were some
beautiful,
amazing shots.
Yeah,
and that's like I was saying earlier. That's one of the reasons why I feel like this is a TV episode that got stretched out to be a movie, because like there's very little reason to have such a cool shot other than let's have a cool shot.
Yeah,
there's very little reason to spend 5 minutes on flying around the ship the first time we see the Enterprise, other than we spent a lot of money on this miniature. You want to see it?
Yeah,
we
got a lot of the same people from a TV show back together, and but we're making a movie this time, and we're all blown away by what we're allowed to do.
And and Paramount has already blown $5 million on an effects company that they fired.
Oh, nice!
They spent $5 million on, and they damn near got through the whole movie, and they were like, "No, we don't. We don't. When you guys are fired, you're done." And they already spent $5 million on them, which was an inflated budget of like 2 or something like that. Is what they originally had. Then they were like, "We're going to need more," so they got 5, and then whatever company that they got to do the effects at the end, their second company to do it, they were like, "Blank check, just get it done."
Well,
and they were like, "Blank check, you say?"
Yeah,
cool.
It looks good.
Well, this nebula is going to have a lot of colors in it.
Yeah.
A lot of different shades of green.
We're going to slowly pan across it.
Very
so that
slowly.
Each and every time will be about 10 minutes of silence.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Damn.
Should I mention in recording that I fell asleep watching this movie 3 times as I'm gloating about some of the great things in it, but
it's just so slow. It's just so like I said earlier, I think there's maybe like 7 pages of dialogue in this whole movie.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of scenes that end with a question to a cast member, right? To a character. And then everybody kind of like looks, there's no answer, and then the scene ends and moves on. And there's like, it's like, did something get cut here? Was there an ending to this scene? Was there something?
While you're editing, you realize there's no answer to this question, right?
Yeah.
And
it's
not coming up later.
You kept it in. You kept it in? Okay.
Does Spock come on board after the wormhole then, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't come on because he comes on, they go into, I think they go back into the recreation room, and Spock says, "It appears you're having issues with your engines," or something along those lines. Or like, you seem to be having issues. Can I help you with that?
Yeah, I think it says that on the bridge. He actually immediately takes Decker's position at the science monitor or
and Decker's
whatever.
very happy about it.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing over here, man."
I don't know how I missed this earlier, but when Ilea comes on and Kirk calls him Commander Decker, and Ilea looks over and goes, "Commander?" And Decker looks back at Kirk and says, "Yeah, the captain has the utmost confidence in my abilities." And Kirk says, "And in yours, Lieutenant," to Ilea. And I'm trying to figure out whether Ilea is surprised to hear that his name is Commander because she hasn't seen him in years, and Lord knows what he was before,
Sure.
or whether she has some information that he should be Captain, and that this is Commander. What the hell? At which point, which would make more sense for him to turn around and be like, "The captain's got confidence in me, though. Like, don't worry, I'm not
Yeah.
just a commander. I'm
Oh,
like
yeah. So it's like a wink and a nod, like it's like a wink and a nudge kind of
Yeah.
line of like we're in public. I can't really. I don't want to
I
talk.
can't
about
be
it
like,
right now.
I should be a captain.
Yeah.
I was a captain.
I was
like
a captain,
yesterday,
but
hours ago.
I was literally a captain. Oh, look at that, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was in the engineering room. I was working on stuff because I was a hands-on captain.
Yeah, I mean, I was in there. You know, I was a good one. You know, like you hear about these captains that don't, you know, they never leave their bridge and their ready room. That's not me, baby.
Yeah.
You know me. I'm in there. I'm in the trenches.
I'm the engineering captain. You know, Picard was like a lawyering captain. Janeway was a philosophizing captain. Maybe, I don't fucking know.
Okay. Cisco was a baseball captain. You know. Archer
was
dogs. Oh, he
Archer
always,
was Tom Hanks in Big.
I was going to say that.
It's a 12-year-old cat trapped in a captain's body.
Archer, you know, he was always leaping. You know, he was always leaping into new things.
Archer was actually from a different dimension and had suddenly landed in Archer's body and had no idea what kind of life he was trying to take over. And by the end of the episode, when he figured it out, it was already time to leap and move on. That was Archer's deal. I'm pretty sure.
Speaking of crossovers, I've been watching Twin Peaks.
Oh, I thought you watched the Enterprise that actually had the guy that was with him in Quantum Leap.
Oh, that's awesome. No,
that's an episode, and he runs a prison,
so cool.
and it's pretty awesome. But go on.
There's this character that our main characters. Have you?
Never.
Never. You would love it.
That's what
you gotta
I hear.
watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agent Cooper is an FBI agent, and he keeps having these visions of this giant. And the guy that plays the giant is also the same guy that plays the Traveler in the Next Generation.
Nice.
Right? And these visions are coming to him from another dimension.
And who's the Scully that tells him to just quit pursuing these visions?
His name is another FBI agent. He's related to Alec Baldwin, oddly enough. I don't know his name.
Not that all. There's like 12 Baldwins that are out there acting.
True. Yeah, it's one of his cousins, I think. But he's a big douchebag for a little while, and then he becomes way too lovey. It gets weird. It's a weird.
This is all in the show or the actor?
This is both. Honestly,
probably.
You know, yeah, you know the Baldwins. They're all a little too touchy. But so I have this theory that the Traveler is in TNG and in Twin Peaks at the same time, talking to Agent Cooper for reasons. And also there's also another link between Twin Peaks and a TV show called Stargate SG-1.
Oh, they can't have links with both then. Never mind. I take back your original theory.
They got them. It's there.
There's no Stargate in Star Trek.
Well,
it's too magical.
It could be a different dimension.
It's still too magical.
No. Well, you have a fucking interdimensional.
Stargate could be in Star Wars. You know, it can be like a fantasy.
That could be another dimension away.
Yeah, but other dimensions still wouldn't have magic.
It's true. Yeah, the space wizard thing is kind of hard to get around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had this debate with a buddy of mine, and I was going to say it's completely random, but this was years ago, and I've come to not believe that so much. So my phone listened to me and gave me proof a couple of days later, which was nice. And it just so happened to pop up on a. Well, I was telling him, yeah, I like sci-fi, and Star Wars isn't sci-fi. Oh, of course it's sci-fi. I go, no, it's it's
Fantasy.
good magic versus bad magic, and it's determined by wizards and knights and emperors and big dark and light armies, and that's a fantasy movie. That's what that is.
Yeah.
And we went back and forth for a little while, and then got off the subject because we weren't going to come to any real conclusion. And then, like 3 days later, I'm seeing an interview from like the, I don't know, late 70s, early 80s. Maybe it was a second or third movie had come out by then. But Harrison Ford saying, well, it was just like the quickest clip. I don't even know what was leading up to it. And it was just him going on about how, well, the thing is, it's not sci-fi. What we've got here is a space fantasy, and I think that's the new idea that people are really glomming onto, and and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I immediately send it to this guy, like, yeah, the
Right out of the horse's mouth here.
the star that
Yeah.
one of the stars of your movie,
Yeah. Look it up.
seems to think
Yeah.
that this is a fantasy movie. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, the magic is the real thing. The hero is either a guy that controls magic, is a wizard, or the hero is an engineer, a guy that uses science. That's the difference between sci-fi and fantasy.
Yeah.
But I was
Pretty
like,
good. Pretty good.
you get past that, and you still have a movie full of knights and emperors and like the other stuff that
Yeah.
isn't necessarily what makes fantasy, what defines it, but it is
prophecy.
indicative.
Yeah.
Oh, prophecy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
Oh yeah. It's been foretold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The prophecies in any Star Trek, and I also think DS9 gets a little religious and whatever, but
Very.
it is all about the grayness of like that there's almost no difference, or there might not be a difference, or the prophecies aren't really right because you can never interpret these kinds of vague things, but it is sci-fi to have an entity that lives a long time and that doesn't see time in a linear fashion. That doesn't necessarily have to be sci-fi as long as they're not gods, but I think DS9 leaves you a little bit just thinking of them as gods too
Sure.
much, but
I think that leaving that open is kind of DS9's point.
yeah.
Is that any
I can take it as an entity while somebody else can watch the same show and take it as a god.
yeah. What's the I think it's the Arthur C. Clarke quote that any technology separated in time sufficiently
Appears to be magic.
appears to be magic,
Yeah.
which can be the same way of just another being's being, And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the point of DS9 leaving things. Kira is a believer.
Yeah.
know?
The wormhole aliens don't seem to have a lot of technology, though. It seems to just be they
They don't.
think it into existence.
Yeah, they don't need it in their realm. Just because they're they don't see time linearly because they don't really exist here. They exist in the wormhole, which is a bend in space and time. So it's not like they go out of existence when the wormhole is closed. When like after somebody goes away, comes through or in.
Pile wraiths are stuck in a half dozen different rocks and caves on the planet, and they also don't see time linearly.
Yeah, it's true. Then I wonder why they always why they lose then. They can't see if they don't see time linearly. That means they can see how everything's going to end. You know what I mean?
They don't use it very well.
They don't. Yeah. if you could see all of time and space all at the same time, then you know how to win. Then you've seen the possibility of you winning and losing. So just don't do the things that make you lose.
Yeah, but the Pah-wraiths also don't see time linearly.
You mean the prophets?
Either one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Why did they always... Yeah.
So then, I don't know. That's kind of this is autistically thinking about it.
Yeah, we're getting on DS9, too.
Yeah.
We gotta get... So, what happened to Alia? Or what happened? Yeah. Although
So
this
Spock
might
is-
actually be around the time. Spock comes in.
Yeah, Spock is finally on board.
Fixes the engines because he's been listening to their communications with Starfleet. And then comes on board and is just like, well, these are the equations we got to enter for the engines. And I'm just like, this science officer is so good. Get rid of your engineer. What is Scotty doing if he needs a random Vulcan science officer who hasn't been in Starfleet for a number of years to come in and just go, why don't you just punch this equation in? Then they work.
Fuck. Maybe. Shit. You're right.
There's a lot of punching in things manually hundreds of years in the future, as will be the culmination of the entire movie.
Yeah. 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 There's also, again, another weird character thing that the movie doesn't explore nearly as well. Of they do a great job setting it up of Spock being very cold to everybody. You know, Kirk's super excited to see him. Like, my buddy's here. My one of my best friends is here finally. The band's all back together. He's like, where have you been? What have you been up to? And it's like, can I take my station now? You know.
I thought Nimoy did it really great too. Just his acting of keeping. I mean, it was all in the lines, but like he just came in and he softens up through TOS a little bit, and it's just like, no, you're gonna revert back to like episode 1, episode 2.
Yeah,
you've been training.
Yeah, complete blank slate again. You know, and I think that everybody kind of like look at each other, kind of like, what the fuck is, you know?
Yeah. The fuck's his problem?
Yeah.
Didn't we soften him up for 3 years?
Yeah.
What the fuck happened?
To the point where like Kirk's like, I gotta go talk. We gotta go talk. You know, I don't know the fuck you're doing, but we need to go straighten this out because I thought we made some progress.
Yeah.
I thought we're friends.
Yeah.
You know? That it doesn't really go anywhere unless you are really trying hard to put yourself in Spock's shoes of like, he's looking for answers of the blend between logic and feeling and stuff, and he's trying to get rid of all of the feeling that he has been trying to bury so deeply, but now he's trying to like completely get rid of it, and he can't, you know.
Gene Roddenberry believes that this is the end-all be-all, like, philosophical question, moral question. This is the question he wants to kind of answer. Yeah, delve into.
Yeah.
Question more because he finds it unquestionable or unanswerable.
Yeah.
Is logic versus emotion.
Yeah.
And I love a lot of the movies and shows based on his ideas, but
it's not very well executed here.
It's not even an interesting question. Like, I don't question it in my own life, like in the world in general, and I consider myself somebody that would try to think about, these kinds of ideas, but yes, logic is how you figure out how things are happen, and I'm aware that I have emotions as well, which it can be useful and can be a detriment, but I don't logic versus emotion.
I don't. Yeah, that's a good point. They're not necessarily enemies. They're not necessarily polar opposites to each other.
And I've never been vexed with the philosophical question of pinning them against each other.
Sure.
And expecting one to win or lose.
Yeah. Huh. I wonder if that's one of the. I wonder if that's the reason then that the whole Spock's way of, his poorly constructed arc in this movie just comes off so uninteresting and flat is because you are right. It's really not that interesting of a question anymore.
And yeah, and who cares? And I mean, they reacted to him not being emotional pretty nicely. Like, Kirk kind of laughs it off when they go separate and go into whatever room that was. Was that his quarters? Because it looked much more relaxed than the other place.
Way more relaxed. And I think that's part of the recreation room again.
Okay.
I think it's a different part of maybe all three of these rooms that we've talked about. The briefing, this room that they go to have the, Kirk, Spock, and Bones.
Was it Rumpus Room? Was that? I think
Rumpus Room. What is it? 1942? Jesus Christ! What the fuck's a Rumpus Room?
I don't remember. But he even Bones, even DeForest Kelly, kind of laughs it off there a little bit. Like he's upset on the bridge. They go to this other room, and then he goes, old Spock.
You haven't changed a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still as friendly and as cold as or whatever he says. And you are just as interested in frivolity, or a word that I wouldn't think you would use. It's not frivolity, but it's
like, but he's basically saying pointless
irrelevancies.
Yeah, irrelevancies. Yeah.
Yeah.
My demeanor towards you is irrelevant to the situation. So why are you even mentioning it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
he really flips on a dime later.
Yeah, and at the same time, he did serve in Starfleet for a very long time. He was with this crew for a very long time. I'm assuming, especially at this time in Starfleet, you with a crew out in deep space for 5 years. That's assuming that the mission ends. It just doesn't end after 3.
Mission got canceled.
Mission can't cancel. Come back. Actually, promotion for you. You're out. You stay the same rank for the next 10 years.
He must have some emotion just based on the fact that he's about to be handed the necklace of no emotion, and he puts his hand up and stops it.
Yeah. I can't take this.
Yeah, get that shit off me.
There's emotions coming through or something like that, along those lines, and there's questions I'm feeling need answers, and I think I know where I can get them then. It's not here. You fucks. Also, why don't we ever see more of Vulcan, just in general?
It doesn't look like anybody can live there.
Which is awesome. This is... I love that the Vulcan planet seems so...
barren and inhospitable.
Yeah. And this is the type of people that are made by that. I think that would be more of an interesting conversation to have. But
I also once made a necklace by drilling small holes in the sides of cinnamon sticks and then putting twine through it. So I really liked them keeping with that aesthetic.
Yeah, it was pretty perfect.
That was
I think that's one of the only other. I think there's one other painted background in the movie. I think the other one is when Kirk is arriving at Starfleet and he's on that tram at the very beginning. I think there's a painted background there and on Vulcan. I think there's only 2 painted backgrounds in this whole movie, which is crazy for the 70s.
Yeah. And but they looked good.
They still looked awesome.
Yeah.
I've heard people criticize them that they don't look all that great, but I don't know. I love the way they look.
Oh yeah, and the I believe the tram one, if it's the same scene, I'm thinking they've got, because they're putting in front of that the kind of shuttle pods that are actually landing and going into like a slot.
Yeah.
That all looked
fantastic.
What year? 79?
79.
Yeah. That looked pretty damn good.
Yeah. So Spock is finally on the ship. The gang is all back together. Spock fixes the ship, and now we're finally on our way to meet V'ger. An hour and a half into this fucking movie.
Yeah. But we don't know the name yet, right?
No, yeah.
So we got to get close.
Yeah, we're still looking for the intruder. They get to the intruder. They get to the intruder. They start going into the nebula. And then
into the they called it an energy field.
Yeah.
kept being the phrase that they're using for this,
Yeah,
which
right.
seemed too vague in general for the layers that you end up seeing later. But anyway, sorry.
Well,
It looks like a nebula
yeah,
based on all future Star Trek.
cloud thing. They're going through it. Then stuff starts going a little haywire.
That's a power level 12.
Power level 12 energy field.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
12 what, you ask?
Yeah.
Normally, you don't just get a whole number without a
Yeah.
metric that you're using.
What do you? Yeah.
But
Watts?
it's a
That's low.
power level 12. It would take thousands of ships to create a
Power level 12.
Yeah.
Force field or energy field.
no, and
Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
it's
I
said
don't know what
multiple times.
don't know what any of that's supposed to mean.
It doesn't make.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
And there's no explanation. Nothing. No. Nothing there, huh? Great.
Not that I saw. I was hoping you were going to fill me in,
No,
actually, and then you're just looking at me as surprised that I brought it up. Yeah, I didn't have
I don't
anything.
know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah. The is this where they start getting the old Earth signals? So they start getting like radio. It starts broadcasting radio to the Enterprise.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah.
That's before the probe. They notice that before the probe just shows up.
I think so. This is the part where like there's the most amount of things that happen all at once.
Yeah.
And all of it gets to the same point of like they can't use their shields, they can't use their scanners because they don't want to come off as too hostile yet.
Yeah, passive scans only because the outpost, which I'm sure had a name, and we should have written more stuff down. Yeah, the outpost literally says aloud. I think they might be taking our scans as hostile measures.
That's
so
right. Yeah.
blah blah blah, and then gets destroyed promptly. So
Fantastic.
passive scans only, which presumably means not really a scan, just sensors that if something comes at you, if there's radiation coming off of it,
Yeah.
scan. But
Yeah. I think I do think that that's before the probe. They get closer to the center, and then the probe hits.
it is before the probe, and I can tell you exactly why I know it, because Kirk gives the command to enter the energy field, at which point Decker says the line, something about not worth the risk, or I don't think that's
Yeah.
it's something along the lines of worth the risk and not worth it.
And
For Kirk to say,
Yeah.
how do you define
Right.
not worth the risk?
He asked that's a I remember this scene because that's when I started noticing that a lot of these scenes are ending with questions like that, and then the scene ends.
Well, that one's not that's a setup. That's not mistaken editing.
Well,
He's going to answer that out of nowhere. Us, the viewer, are going to know why he's answering it, but it will not make any sense in the time if you were a person standing there in the room.
true. Which is my point is that like like Picard would do shit like that where like if they were standing on the bridge entering some unknown thing and they were like take us in, and then Riker may have come up and be like, do you really think that's a good idea? Is it really worth the risk? Well, how do you define risk? Number one. And then it kind of like the camera would kind of pan out a little slightly, and then he would give another command of like moving, because it's more like a shut the fuck up kind of phrase, right?
Yeah.
Than an actual question to be answered. But this movie doesn't do any of that. It just it just brings it up like, how would you define that? And then just slam cut to the next thing.
Yeah. Might get a little look on Decker's face or something.
I don't even
I don't even think that does do that.
It doesn't even
doesn't
cut
go back to him.
Right, so it just gives you the illusion that a conversation was cut off before it ended, versus a rhetorical question,
Yeah.
So it just feels disjointed. It feels, what are we doing,
I feel like this would help, but at the same time, not fix what you're pointing out. Is it the very next scene that the probe does come in so that he can at least answer it by the end of that scene?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
They gotta do a different. This is how I. Yeah, there's a lot going on, and then sudden stoppage before he says, "That's what I define by not worth the risk." But it was. I don't know. You don't say that then. You don't gloat right after somebody dies.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You know.
He's got a bit of a smirk on his face the whole time, and I'm kind of like, didn't somebody just die in front of you that you care about?
Wasn't it the chick that you potentially banged at some point?
No, she took a vow of celibacy. So
it has been stated.
It's stated and known.
And you really want another beer, huh?
I wouldn't, not want one.
Nice.